Yeah, definitely. That is something very, very important. Eyes up all the time, scanning everywhere, looking way ahead. And you can see through, like if you get to turn three, as you exit three, you could be looking, even before you get to three, you could be looking almost at turn six.
Green flag, green flag.
Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
This episode is brought to you by DeechWorks Fuel Systems. Use Apex 10 at checkout to save on fueling your passion. Also, if you go to racesetuppro.com, use Blind Apex 2025 to save 20% on a monthly or an annual plan. If you check out episode 151, you'll see or hear more details about Race Setup Pro. I think their AI is definitely going to be able to help some people out who get lost in how to set up their car or make changes. If you want to support the podcast directly, go to buymeacoffee.com/the Blind Apex Podcast. Now that the business is out of the way, it's February 2026. We're about 7 months from the NASA Nationals. And about when this one goes out, maybe 20-something days before the 12 hours of Sebring in 2026. So obviously, I want to talk Sebring International Raceway. Joining me, he's got a very sparse social media account, so it made it really hard for me to stalk him and get a really good intro. But the chief instructor for NASA Florida, Luis Jimenez, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Well, welcome, Khan, and thank you for having me on. It's my pleasure to give you whatever information I haven't forgotten about.
I'm sure we'll get into your background. I'm sure you have plenty of laps at Sebring that will stoke some of your memories to how we need to shuffle around there. So, but I have a question though for the NASA National folks. Are we doing full course for Nationals? I would assume so, but do you?
Yeah, I believe the last time they did the Nationals there, it was a full course. It's a whole 3.7 miles, 17 turns that you get to see at the 12 hours. Yeah.
Okay. So I have some history. Maybe you know some history about that. But before we dive down that, let's get your background. So I know you're the chief instructor for Florida, NASA Florida, but how long have you been doing HPDEs, instructing, racing? What's your background, sir?
So I watched for the first time HPDE that was being promoted on a television screen on one of the sports channel, and I said to myself, "Wow, that's amazing that you can take your own car to the racetrack." So I had just purchased a 350Z when they first came out, and I went online and I booked on Father's Day of 2003, and I did one day by 12 noon. I was soloed at the track. I had never been on any racetrack before, and I finished the day without any issues. Everything was fine. I mean, some slides or so, but everything was great, and I just got hooked. So for that year, I did about 30 HPDEs. And then I became a group leader with NASA. I was doing tech, and I became an instructor. And then when I was appointed chief instructor in 2010. And I've done some jump races, 24 hours, 14 hours, 8 hours. Been to VIR, Road Atlanta, Roebling Road, Daytona, Moroso, which is then became PBR, Homestead, Sebring, or is my home track. So I've been doing this for some years, and it's just something that I have to be at the racetrack. I think I can't be out of the racetrack no more than 2 months. it's just that's the passion. That is what it's an incredible feeling. And my work is around my track schedule. So I don't know what else am I leaving out that maybe you want
I don't
to
know, but it's a good thing
about.
you're in Florida if you want to be at the track for 10 months out of the year, because we definitely can't
Oh
do that
yeah.
up here. So, how many laps do you think you have at Sebring?
Oh boy. I It's
Yeah.
thousands. I don't know exactly the amount, but to have an idea for what for about 20 years I've done more than 20 days a year. And whenever I go, I do approximately close to 200 miles on a weekend.
Yeah, so
And
we can round to say 50 laps a weekend or more, slightly above 50.
50 laps, yes, like almost 50 laps a day. Since I'm the chief instructor, I go out in my regular session, either time trial or group 4, but I also go out and I monitor what's going on in group 3 and in group 1 and 2. So, I've had days where I've done 8 sessions a day. So, yeah.
But I think you're going to have forgotten more about Sebring than you're about to tell us because you've done so many
Yeah.
laps. But I've been iRacing Sebring. I've been watching, there's a couple of Ross Bentley videos out there. There's several videos. Chin Motorsports has a video about Sebring out there that can be pretty good to look for.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there. If you're planning on going to nationals, do your homework. That's all I have to say, because it's a challenge on iRacing, at least for me, especially in the dark, because that's how they normally do it, right? iRacing normally, the league races and stuff are normally at night to replicate the 12-hour. But what do you know about the history of Sebring?
The history, I know it was done, on the old airport that they had for World War II. And it's been modified many times. I don't know if the first race took place in 1952 or so. I'm not sure exactly. And I've seen a lot of old videos, and sometimes you look at those videos and you have no idea where that part is on the track unless you see the whole thing. That's how much has been modified.
Oh yeah. So when I was doing research for Sebring, so it used to be Hendrick Army Airfield, where the B-17 bomber training base was. And then it's listed as North America's oldest permanent road racing facility. And the first race, they say, is in 1950, and the first 12-hour was in 1952.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And even Wikipedia has a laundry list of changes. They widened the track here. They moved it over here. They did this. They did that. Because back in the day, there were fatalities at that racetrack. A lot of them, apparently, even to spectators. So obviously, lots of things have changed. They did safety improvements. They've widened things. They've done runoff areas. They moved other barriers, and then the last major change was they moved something so they could use a runway full time while you're racing. So there are planes apparently that are going to be pretty close to the racetrack. So
yeah, you can see the planes. As a matter of fact, last time we were there about 2 weekends ago, and as you're coming around turn 1, you can see a huge plane right there. It's not there all the time, but it was there. So, yeah, you'll see planes around there all the time.
Yeah, to me, it's really interesting because of the history, because of the uniqueness of the facility. I really want to go. I'm waffling whether I come in April to one of your events that you guys are having down there, and get like an event in before. It's just going to be, it's a 1,000-mile trip for us. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a little tough to do something in person, but we'll see. We'll see what we can bring out. I started by looking at Google Maps, and I tried to find amenities around Sebring International Raceway. And because it's an airport that still operates, it's kind of in a different spot than most racetracks, it seems like. Maybe it's different in Florida, but can you tell us about the amenities at the track?
So once you turn in to get to the track, once you're at the track, they have the hotel, the Seven, that's gone through different names. It used to be the Chateau back then. And they've got restaurant. The hotel is great. It's right there on the track. And you can see through your balcony, turn 7. So it's a great place. At the airport, they also have a restaurant too that you can go. You have to leave. Just the track would go right around it, so it's very close by. And then on the track itself, they have a shack place where you get burgers, hot dogs, salads, stuff like that. If you don't want to leave the track, if you leave the track, then you can go into town, and they've if you travel a little bit further into town, they have everything there. I mean, there's a lot of different places to go, and not too far away there's I forgot the name of it. I can't believe. Oh, the watering hole where they used to have a live gator, a huge live gator. There, you would go eat, and you can go ahead and take a look at the gator. So there are some places there, to eat, to drink. They got pizza. There's a Gator Shack, which has very good steaks. It's a little shack, but you'd be surprised at the steaks you get there.
I'd be amiss.
Yeah.
I'm a racer, so I would be amiss if I didn't ask how close are the parts stores to the track. Do you know?
The parts stores are pretty close too. We've got Advance, so there's several. Maybe within 15 minutes of the track, you can get to a parts
Oh, that's
store,
pretty good.
and there's several.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's several. You can call in if you need something, and sometimes they can order it for you the next day if they don't have it. So even on a Sunday, you can go pick them up.
Okay, that's good because we like to break stuff. At least us in the Mid-Atlantic region, we like to break stuff. So, all right. So I'm going to warn you. There's 17 turns we're going to cover. Some of them seem to be like flowy combos. So I don't know how we want to talk about this. And then I'll warn Lewis now that at the end, because he has so much experience, I have a segment that I do that I wanna ask him a question not about Sebring but about race car driving. So, Lewis, let's start in turn 1. How do we approach it? It's a left-hander, so I get that. But so we're going from right to left, but is it late apex, early apex? How is the curbing? What are we doing on the inside of the corner? That kind of thing for turn 1.
Okay, so it's a blind apex, so it coincides with your podcast. That's
Yep.
pretty cool. So you want to stay all the way to the right before you start turning in to the wall. There's a bridge there before the wall, before you start turning and braking. You can use that as a reference if you want to start braking, according to your car and how fast you're going. You can use the bridge as a marker. And then right as the right-hand wall ends, a little bit further, you can start turning in, depending on the car. Maybe you want to turn in a little bit sooner. It's very bumpy. The apex is blind, and it's hanging on the fence on the inside. So as you turn in, you don't see the apex cone, and it's incredible how close you can get to that wall. There's a yellow line that is about 5 or 6 feet away from the wall. When you're at speed, it seems like it's maybe 2 feet, but you can get very, very close to that apex, and you can see the cone can be right on top of the driver's side. it's low, but you have enough room to go right under it. Nothing happens there. It is very bumpy. Okay, so you have to really figure out the trajectory you're getting through there. So the bumps, once you could get on the gas, and then you want to track out all the way to the outside there. Also, there's some bumps there that if you don't get them right, your car is going to be bouncing and it could be skidding to the side there. So it's pretty bumpy there. Then there's corner station as you're going down the front straight. Before you turn in for turn one, straight ahead there's a corner station there. And then when you get to turn two, is really not a turn, but it is turn two. It's like a little kink that you can use it to set yourself up for the braking.
Yeah. I'm going to petition that they eliminate the number 2 from off this map, because it's not even a turn. I barely call it a kink. It was like the grader accidentally drove a little wrong. Like
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You can just use it to open up yourself and give yourself a little bit more room to then get straight up for the braking for 3.
So my question is 4 is also, it's a turn, but I believe this is maybe our first flowing section. The 3, 4, 5 combo seems to be yeah.
Right.
So can you talk us through how we should be approaching turn 3, maybe the use of curbing or not in 4, and then how we're approaching 5?
Okay, so turn 3, that's a late apex, and you have to get that one right to set you up for 4. If you go too early in 3, it's going to bring you out and it's going to really ruin, your rhythm through there. So it's a late apex in 3. Then turn 4, you're going to see the rumble strips on the right. And turn 5 is the one that's going to draw you in to turn early. That's another one where you don't want to turn in too early, because then you won't have room. You won't have any runoff area of turn 5, which has a high rumble strip on the exit. So, and it's pretty high. So there's a part there where if you get it right, that rumble strip that comes up a little bit higher almost kind of catches the car there. But if you turn in too early, you might go over that and into that clay there, and you don't want to do that. So you want to get turn 5 to turn in a little bit later.
So turn 3 is a left-hander. Turn 4 is
turn 3 is
off to the right, and then turn 5 is another left-hander. Now, is the curbing on the exit of 5, if we go over that, how many oil pans does turn 5 eat with that curb?
It depends. It depends where you're coming off of the exit of 5. There's a part there that's pretty high that if your car's low, you could do some damage there. And then there's another part there where if you turn in even later, you'll go ahead and. So if you turn in too early, you might be okay coming off. And if you turn in late, same thing. But if you hit it right, you want to make sure that you just go right over that the curbing. And there, like I said, there's a part there where the curbing is pretty high. I don't know if it could be maybe 4 or 5 inches or so. But it will catch the car if you hit it just right.
Yeah. So when we're exiting 5, where are we staying? And then how are we approaching 6? 6 is what they call Big Bend, right? So, and it's also a right-hand bend. So how are we approaching 6? Because I think if you mess it up, you're going to lengthen that essentially full throttle. It's not a straightaway, but that full throttle time, you lengthen the trip. So you want to shorten the trip, but just get it right. So how are we approaching that?
So as I exit turn 5, I stay tight to the right, right almost over the white line. And you're very close to the grass. So you can get very close, but you got to be careful you don't get too close and get in the grass. So I just stay very close to the white line on the right hander, and then you know maybe 2/3 down or so, you start opening up the wheel, and the car just keeps coming out perfectly. They've added maybe a very long time ago on the left side when you're getting ready for turn 7. They've added a piece of concrete there that you can use almost when you're getting back to the left hand side. So turn 6, honestly, it's pretty simple. Just like you said, make it as short as possible, full throttle through there, and just open up the wheel so that you end up nice and straight before the bridge and get ready for the braking.
So the braking is for hairpin, which is turn 7. Turn 7,
Right.
if anybody was going to add a number, it should have been at turn 7. Okay. But we'll let them pass for turn 2. Turn 7 is more like a sort of coat hangerish, where it like goes all the way and then it jigs back a little bit. So let's talk about hairpin. Honestly, if you're listening to this podcast, you should pull up a track map with numbers, because there's 17 of them, so it's hard to keep everybody on track. But let's talk about turn 7 and how you're approaching that.
Okay. So turn 7, about 2/3 or so into the rumble strip on the left, right, and you're on the brake for that. That's mainly where I start turning. So you just got to keep your eyes way ahead. And now they fixed or added a rumble strip there that wasn't there many years ago. It's been there already. I don't know if it's been 5, 6 years or so, where you can't use all the curbing turn 7, because that one is pretty. It's a pretty high. It has a pretty high lip. Could be 5 inches or so
On the inside,
so
right?
you want it on the
Okay.
inside, yeah. So you can get pretty close to it, and you can go over the rumble strip there, but you have to be aware that there's a part there where you don't want to touch it, because you're gonna damage something in the car, and it's visible. You can see that. You can see the whole part that's lifted, from that rumble strip. So once you exit turn 7, you want the exit of 7 has a flat rumble strip, and there's some dirt there, so you can use all of that without a problem. You can use the exit as much as you want, and you also want to make it a straight line so that you don't have to even turn the wheel. So once you start exiting turn 7, it's a straight shot. You don't have to make the left and right. If you set it up right, it's just right straight out of there. And then turn 8 is same thing. That's full throttle. That's fine. There is also a small part of the lip there, but you can get very close to the apex of 7 if you need to. If your car is very high powered, you might need to use a little bit more of the track. That's easy through there. You want me to go to turn 9?
Yeah, so the 8-9 seems like a combo to me. It's sort of just like a big flowing fast section.
Right. So it is very fast and flowing, like you say. You just want to make sure you set up when you get turn 9, so that you can set it up to be in line for braking for turn 10. So there's if it rains, you gotta stay away from concrete patches that are there. If there is no rain, I don't think there's going to be any rain. Hopefully not.
Knocking on wood right now. We don't say the R word on this podcast, but it's okay.
Oh, rain is good. We need rain. It evens the field if you got the right equipment. It's fun to drive in the rain. So okay, so we get to turn
Hmm.
10. Again, very hard braking zone. There's a runway there, a runoff area straight ahead if you need to. And then right almost at the end of the rumble strips on the left hand side, or a little bit before that, you can start turning in for the right hander to turn 10. So your placement of the exit of turn 10 is also going to help you to be able to get turn 11 A and B, if they call it like that sometimes, because that's the double apex left-hander. Okay, so you get one apex, you come out a little bit, there's an oak tree there on the right, and then you want to come back to get the apex, and then one of the markers, like you were saying earlier, is the tower. So turn 13, they call it sometimes tower
Hmm.
turn. So if you exit right turn 11, you almost want to be pointing. There's a huge tower all the way in the back in the airport that you can still see it. So that's a good marker to set up for 13. 13, right before you get to 13, there's that little rumble strip that they call turn
Hmm.
12 there. And some people hug it real tight. And if you're racing, maybe you do want to, so that you don't have anybody getting inside of you for turn 13. But if not, sometimes you might want to keep like a half a car width or so from that apex to give you a better setup for the braking for turn 13. So if you're too close to the exit, to the apex on 12, approaching 13, you're going to get on the brakes when you get to 13 almost at an angle. So you're going to have to rotate the car and slow it down even more to be able to get the right hander for 13. If you're a little bit wide of that apex on 14, then your car might be more in line to just be straighter when you're braking, and then you can turn that 90-degree turn or so. 13 has some camber. That might be the part of all the turns that has the most
Hmm.
camber. I say most, but it's really not that much. Only when it rains, you can see how everything puddles right there, and that's 13. I don't know if you want me to keep going or you want to ask me some questions prior
Well,
to this.
so the let's talk about racing here a little bit, because this is the first time we've talked about playing defense on setup, right? And you're about to hit a very fast section of the track, right? So once you come through 13, it gets
Right,
fast. There is
right.
some movement, obviously, but you're on the throttle. So if you have the horsepower, I don't know if you necessarily need to play defense, but if you don't have the horsepower, I don't know if you scrub, you know, to try to hold people up. So this is a decision point if you're a racer. The turn 13 looks like a big decision point. I haven't had any issues with it in iRacing with the, MX5 and the GR cars, but yeah, it's definitely a decision, probably a decision point. Somebody at Nationals is going to have to make a big decision there, I'm sure. So let's keep going, though. From 13 to 14 to 15, it all seems pretty fast. Like it's going to come up on you.
That's It's very fast and it's wide, so you can get three wide there, approaching the entry to 14. Okay, so the fast line is on the outside. There's a rumble strip there, and then you can clip the first apex of 14, and then you get, if you do it right, almost the steering, you really almost don't even have to move the steering wheel. The arc will be perfect if you do it there. Now, you don't want to be too shallow. You want to make a nice arc, so you go out, between the first apex and the second apex. You want to make a nice arc through there, but you don't want to go over. There's like when you're driving, it looks like a line right there, part of the track. If you walk the track, you can see that that line has a drop of maybe a couple inches or so. So you want to go out as much as you can if it's not too dirty there, so that you can get ready for turn for 15. Okay, so one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to focus too much on that second apex. If for whatever reason you don't happen to hit it right and you're not going to get that second apex, don't worry about it too much. Just at least stay somewhere in the middle close when you get ready to brake and turn for the right hander 15. So while you're doing that fast turn, 14 getting to 15, that double apex on 14, you want to make sure you're smooth, and you want to make sure that you don't lift or brake or something if the car is not really settled yet, So you want to get it as straight as possible when you get hard on the brakes before you start turning for 15. A lot of cars there have, some cars work fine through that, going over the second apex, which is a little bit taller than the first one, if you hit it correctly. And some cars, it just it upsets the car. And if the driver freaks out and lifts or something, it's going to be even worse. So there's a lot of runoff area right after 14 and 15. There's a whole lot of space out there. There's grass and there's not grass. So there's a lot of space there. If you keep your eyes up, planning to where you want to be, you should be fine there.
Okay. So I just want to make sure people know. So coming out 13 is a right-hander. 14 is more of a double left, two double kinks, essentially, going left. And then 15 is a right-hander you're setting up for. So,
right.
And then 16 is also a right-hander, but there's a little zig in there between 15 and 16.
Right.
So let's talk about the exit of 15 and our approach for turn 16.
Okay. So when you exit 15, you're going to wind up on the left side, and then there's almost like there's the end of that rumble strip where you want to maybe just clip that end of the rumble, not the rumble strip, but just the track itself. And then you want to arc the car, bend the car in so that you can get 16 right. Now, there's like a crack on the pavement. It's been there since I was first there. They haven't done anything to it. So you can straddle that, or maybe get, the left tire on it or so. That gives you a reference of where you are approaching 16. Some drivers go out too much to the left before they make the right for 16. I don't think, after so many years of talking to a lot of drivers, it depends the car you have, but I don't think you have to go out that much. Sometimes even almost kind of straight, and you just touch the brakes and turn in to 16. 16, you don't want to early apex it either. You want to make sure it's a later apex. You can use all the rumble strips on the exit, and there's a lot of grass there also. There's a lot of space. If something happens there, it's better to try to drive straight to the grass and maybe not try to correct it, because then you got a wall on the right-hand side.
Yeah. You don't want to come back across the track there. That's for sure.
Right. And a lot of the things that I've seen there is, people freak out. They turn in too early for 16. Now they find out that they're not going to make it, and then they lift, and the while the wheel is turned, so you get more load on the front, and then the car just turns all the way to the right. So you just got to be smooth through there.
So I'd be amiss if I didn't ask this question. What car and what's the top speed that you know of going down the straightaway?
The back
Yeah.
straight, it depends on the car. You could hit 160, 165, 170. That's a very
Okay.
fast car. I think I drove a cup car once, and first time ever, and I think I hit about
Oh,
160. I've got a 996 turbo that I take to the track every once in a while, and with that car, I hit like 150, maybe 155 or so on the back straight. So it's a long straight. I'm not sure how long it is, but it's the longest straight. And if you get the entry and the exit to 16 just right, you can go ahead and make up a lot of time there.
yeah. It every time I do it on iRacing, when you nail 16, it pays dividends on the straightaway, like a lot. But
Yeah.
the straightaway leads to what everybody's been waiting for. Turn 17.
Turn 17.
It's what I call voodoo. It looks like a rough double apex turn to have to deal with. Maybe even triple apex, depending on how crazy your car is and if you have to slow it down. I don't know. I've never driven it in person. I've probably done it correctly one time in iRacing. Yeah. So how should we be approaching and looking at turn 17?
So, well, now I don't know if it's a spoiler alert. There's something new to the track that they're just finishing. I don't know if you want me to say it or not on the
Sure, let's
show.
hear it.
Could be, yeah, okay. So they've made a bridge on the back straight, which is a great idea. So there's a big bridge, a walkover bridge on the back of the straight, about 2/3 or so from 16 to 17. So that, I mean, you really can't use that as any braking marker because it's too far away. But as you get closer to the breaking point, you can see their painted lines on the floor. And if you see the 12 hour, you can really see where those lines are. You got to choose whatever, lines. I probably start turning in the 1, 2, like 2.5 line or so. I start turning in for 17. And then there's a wall right there, right in the corner, which is, like you were saying, the first apex, if you take it correctly. So the whole trick to that is carry the most speed that you can into that turn and rotate the car correctly so you can carry the most speed and get on the throttle as soon as possible. So this is like usually you want to slow in and fast out, or you've got a long straight after this turn, so you want to sacrifice the entry a little bit more. On 17, you want to get as much speed into that turn and out of the turn. So, usually you're probably trail braking into the turn there and getting the car rotated. They also talk about the blue dot that's on the bridge. That's a good reference point, but I think more importantly is how your car is pointed when you get under the bridge. Because if you're pointed, more towards the left, you're going to end up in that dirty zone. So there's 100 lines through there. You have to find what works good for your car setup and for
Mhm.
yourself. Sometimes we do things so many times that you got to break from that and try something different. But turn 17, yeah, it's very bumpy there. Photographers take pictures; they know exactly where the bump is, and they'll get the car with the tire in the air. So it's pretty bumpy, but there is grip, and it's just when you go through there. especially if you're racing, just if you can keep everything together and not touch anybody else and make it through, I think that's successful.
Yeah. It makes me the most nervous is 17, but that's probably because I suck at it and I've only done iRacing, So are you saying so it's a double apex, for lack of a better term. Off the straightaway, are you brushing the brakes turning in or brushing the brakes trailing in? And then, okay.
Yeah. So in my car, I brush the brakes a little bit, then turn in, and then start to trail brake through it.
Okay, so
And
where's the majority of the heavy braking done? Is it after the first turn in or is it before the first turn in?
I would say after the first turn in, so you can carry a lot of speed through the entry, and then you can, get the hard braking done while you're getting to where you need to rotate the car for the exit of the turn.
Okay. So, yeah, and then obviously we're going to exit this turn 17, and it's a right-hander. If you're listening to this podcast, you know turn 17 because it's the bumpy one that everybody loves or hates. Strong opinions, right? But how are we approaching the exit of 17 and hustling to the finish line and setting up for turn 1 and to complete this lap?
Okay, so you really don't have to hit the last apex on 17. I don't. It's really not a necessity, depending how you lined up on the entry. But you do want to keep your eyes way ahead, and you want to get on the throttle as soon as you can and start unwinding the wheel. And you want the car to get as close to the wall as you can. There's like a little pocket right before the bridge. So you want to get the car out all the way to the outside. But first, on the first laps, you got to check and see if it's too dirty there. You might not want to get that close, but you want to get close to the wall. There's a little pocket there, and then if you did a good lap and you're running time trials, or you want to set some type of a fastest lap, maybe you want to go straight and pass the start finish line so that you're not traveling more as you're moving diagonally slowly to the right side of the track. So on a regular lap, you should be almost halfway on the start finish line, almost at the middle of the track when you get to the start finish line. So as you track out of 17 and you start moving to the right side, usually approximately once you're over the start finish line, you're probably halfway on the track. And then you start moving all the way to the right, gradually, so that you don't scrub any speed there either.
So we've completed one lap of Sebring. Okay. So here's my question, because I'm hoping that Nationals has a lot of out-of-towners to come in and it's successful, right? What is the one tip a new racer to Sebring needs to know?
Where every corner station is.
Yeah. Okay. That man, if they're not looking for them, well, I should say that, but yeah, you definitely need to know that. But what a driving tip, because my practice is every cool down lap, I'm waving to my corner workers, one, to thank them because it's a thankless job. I did it for a year, many years ago, 1 year as a corner worker. But two, it reminds me of where they are, right? I want to know where they are because they're the ones warning me of the crazy stuff that could be ahead of me. So that's my tip. it's always my tip for that. But one driving tip for Sebring.
Okay, so there's several. One only is a little bit difficult, but turn 17, make sure you slow the car down enough so that you can rotate it for the exit. Because if you don't, it's very dirty, and then there's the wall right there. So one of the issues with 17 is if you come in too fast and you're not turned in enough and the car doesn't make it, you have the wall right
Okay.
there. So at the beginning, you got to slow down and just work your way up to carrying the most speed you can. Turn one. There's runoff areas on the right hand side too. So if anything happens there, instead of trying to maybe correct it, the same thing might happen. You have walls on the left, so you can go through the grass and in that runoff area. And the same thing for turn 16. It's hard to give you just one tip.
Yeah, I mean, we try to cover things, but sometimes folks got to learn on their own too, So I think that's good. One thing I picked up from my research is that looking ahead here can really pay off because some of your markers are in the distance, like the oak trees, the tower, stuff like that. So don't be eyes down on the pavement too much. You got to keep your eyes up.
Yeah, definitely. That is something very, very important. Eyes up all the time, scanning everywhere, looking way ahead, and you can see through. Like if you get to turn 3, as you exit 3, you could be looking even before you get to 3. You could be looking almost at turn 6.
Yeah.
So you can look way ahead very easily at Sebring in some places.
It's pretty flat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, you guys don't have mountains.
Well, almost everything down here in Florida is pretty flat.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Louis, I want to do the segment for 2026 with you because you've got a lot of experience, and as a chief instructor, I think I'm going to value your opinion, even though your data is just going to go on with everybody else. Okay. So, on your track car or your race car, ABS or no ABS?
ABS.
Okay. So now the follow-up question is the technique with ABS. Are you activating it and just riding it, or are you trying to threshold and sort of activate it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get right to the threshold so that it's not really activating. And also the brake release and the rate of release is one of the most important things in my car to get the car turned in where I want it to.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I've had a lot of opinions so far this year on ABS or no ABS, but it looks like ABS is starting to catch up. We started pretty heavy on the no ABS this year, but collecting data. So at the end of the year, we're gonna show some charts and stuff about ABS and what everybody said. So
I also guess it depends on the car that you have, right? Some older cars, like we have an E30 race car, and my son, the ABS doesn't work in that car. He never wants to fix it, and he likes it. But it just takes, which is not a bad thing to practice. How you want a threshold brake with the ABS. But if you're comfortable without ABS on your car, then that might work for you.
Yeah. It's a feel. It's an opinion. It's car dependent, but the internet likes to rage about it sometimes. So I figure I'd start collecting some data and some opinions from my guests. So. Okay. Louis, it's been a great pleasure, sir. I really appreciate you. I apologize for delaying. Washington, D.C. traffic is unpredictable. So,
no worries. I really appreciate you inviting me. It's the first podcast I've ever done I don't know if I'm going to do others, but since it was Sebring and it's for nationals, it's always good to give at least some type of
Yeah.
help. So I appreciate you
Yeah, I
having me on.
appreciate it too, sir. Have a good night.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.